We will get started on the June 30th, 2025 work session. And our first item is the speed limit discussion. And I guess we'll just turn it over to John Davis. Do you have any other comments, Mr. Anderson?
I do not.
Okay.
Good morning, Mayor and council members. My name is John Davis, City Traffic Engineer for Des Moines. And this morning, I'll be talking to you a little bit about our findings and recommendations with regards to the topic of school speeds. So just to review, the legal authority is that we can lower speed limits by virtue of an engineering study, except on state highways. On state highways, we'll need to receive Iowa DOT approval. We cannot raise the speeding fines beyond what's listed in state law. So that's found in the two code references that are on the screen. From an enforcement standpoint, right now, traditional enforcement is limited by staffing. There's typically 4 traffic officers per shift. Another alternative would be automated traffic enforcement, or ATE. This is permitted only if speeding is greater than 10 miles an hour over the posted limit, whether it be a school zone or a regular posted limit. It does require Iowa DOT approval to locate and utilize those cameras devices for automated traffic enforcement. However, Iowa DOT has been reluctant to approve some of the locations in our city that we've had previously, and we're still waiting on an appeal on the decisions on some of those locations. So from an enforcement standpoint, our conclusion is that automated traffic enforcement is likely will be needed and remains a viable option. However, it's difficult to implement. New applications for specific locations will not reopen until July of 2026. So looking at our current and future considerations for infrastructure, Des Moines Public Schools presently has 55 locations that likely maybe reduced by about 10% over the next 5 to 10 years. We have 17 private schools currently that would fit the bill, or would likely need a school zone or have school zones presently. That may increase with state funding changes. Our existing placement for school zone is that we do a beacon, a flashing assembly, which a picture is on the right of the screen, based on prioritization of street classification, either the federal functional classification or our street topology that we've adopted through Move DSM, or the speed limit when it's greater than 30 miles an hour, because the typical speed is 25 in a school zone, and so we use the beacons when it is in excess of 25 miles an hour. The funding through US DOT grant is available to install speed feedback displays on 29 existing beacon assemblies on our high injury network. This is part of our Safe Streets for All grant that we are awaiting final execution of that grant agreement.
Does that mean, say that for me again, John? I didn't understand. So you're waiting for funding for 29 more beacons for the rest of the schools?
No, we're waiting for we have many locations that do not have a school feedback sign.
Right.
One notably, which actually is the picture above, is in the vicinity of Lincoln High School.
Right.
We have others that we would like to put the speed feedback sign on. Right now it just has speed limit 25 when flashing, has the flashing beacons. We'd like to expand that to our standard would be to have not only the static sign with the flashing beacons, but also the feedback sign that indicates what the motorist is driving as they approach the.
We do have that on Southwest 9.
We do have that on,
Yes.
and we'd like to add that to 29 other existing beacons assemblies throughout the city on our high entry networks.
Okay.
Just for context, what's the grant worth and how much will it cost to do 29?
The total grant that we were given was 13.5 million. I don't have the breakdown off the top of my head for just the beacons. That includes, the grant also includes retroreflective backgrounds, borders for traffic signal displays, as well as project work on 19th and MLK, north of University, as well as on Maury and Southeast 14th.
Yeah. So we're actually doing these 29 additional.
We plan to do that.
Right.
It's just a matter of
When
when
the
will we
funds
start.
come.
Right. We have the funding, it's just,
We're just waiting for the paperwork to be
If it gets.
signed.
And that would be where they already have the 25 mile an hour, you would add the beacon below. Or you'd add the speed.
We just add the your speed
Right,
sign.
so you
underneath.
don't have to do a whole new sign, you just put
No.
that portion.
We do the same as that picture.
Yes.
Right.
That seems to work on Southwest 9. You know, we didn't have it on all the time, and once you turn it on, it has slowed at least around Lincoln High School.
We've also recently included, well, in the new work on East University,
Yeah.
we included one there as well. And that's good to hear, which is why we're doing it.
Yeah, no, it does work.
In terms of future considerations based on our current situation in terms of the number of schools, we're looking at two options. One would be a mix of static signs and beacon assemblies. If we choose to reduce the school speed limit to 20 miles an hour, we'd have some static signs, really the metal, the aluminum, 20 with 25 miles an hour on them, and then we would have posted speed limits that would be, when they're greater than 30 miles an hour or equal to 30 miles an hour, we would add the beacon assembly. So it's a mixture of that. The second option would be that all school zones would have beacon assemblies regardless of the posted speed limit. So in essence, with the school speed zone 20 miles an hour, given that the posted speed limit regularly would be 25 miles an hour, we would have beacon only. So those are the two options that we really have to implement this with the infrastructure that we currently have. Looking at a cost for that, the capital costs for the mixture is around $500,000. All beacons would be 1.5 million. Then the operating costs total up to somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000. The option A is just a little bit less expensive. To kind of break down that these costs in terms
go
of,
back to that last slide.
yeah,
Why are personnel costs so different between the two?
I will get to that in a moment.
Okay.
So that,
Can we roughly assume that if you go back a slide, that a third would be, or a fourth would have the 20 mile an hour? Is that because it's the 500,000 is 25%?
the difference between the two on the capital costs can be really displayed here in that your static signs are cheaper than a beacon assembly. Beacon assemblies, the option B, which involves 250 beacons, is about $1.5 million. And the difference here is we've got 380 new signs, which are the static signs, and 60 new beacons, which comes out to be about $500,000. So it's the cost of the sign. It's cost of the sign roughly to install, fabricate. It's around $150. Cost of the beacon, maybe $5,000 or a little bit more, depending on where you're getting power, how you're powering it, and your control for it. So that's kind of that's the difference on the capital side. On the operating costs, to answer your question, Councilmember Manabon, option A requires us not only to add traffic signal technicians, but also requires us to add signs and markings staff. So that comes out to 2 traffic signal technicians, 1 full-time traffic device worker, and 2 seasonal workers, because these people do other things. Signs and markings, this time of the year, absent rain, they're painting streets. They're doing some maintenance, very limited maintenance on traffic signs. During the winter, the seasonal workers go away, and the full-time staff is now full-time on sign maintenance and trying to catch up in a reactive fashion.
So, I'm not following why this is different. I mean, because the difference between the 2 options, the speed limit's the same. We're just on option B adding beacons on all of them, right?
Right.
So
Or option B, yes, option B.
on option B adding beacons on all of them, why is there more staff for option A where you have the same speed limit, just fewer beacons?
You're adding additional signage that has to be maintained and installed.
You're not adding the signage for,
We're not adding static signs.
You're adding the
Instead of,
static signs.
in places that we add static signs in option A, in option B, we would add beacons.
right, but isn't there a static sign every place there's a beacon? Like you have the posted sign that is static, I mean, it's the same, it's just, there's a beacon versus not a beacon, right?
No, we're adding additional signage on top of what we have today.
You're putting the 20 mile an hour, right?
But the additional signing is a one-time expense, right?
It's a one-time expense, but it's an annual maintenance cost because unfortunately signs get knocked down, people decide to borrow them. Sometimes they're defaced or sometimes they just wear out.
But they're doing that now anyway, right? I mean, signs are,
They are doing it now. This increases the number of signings that we are having to maintain, and quite frankly, we do not have the staff level to even approach what we have today. So adding this on really adds on to the burden that we already have today that is understaffed.
Okay, for 100,000.
So let me just make sure I'm understanding option A. Like, because could you go back? It was like, we're adding the signs at 380 locations in option A.
Yes.
Replacing what we
These are
have.
brand new signs.
Brand new, replacing the 25.
Right. And so to add 380 new signs and to maintain them on an ongoing basis, that requires, what you're saying is 4 new staff?
Yes.
Okay. I think I understand. I'm skeptical that, I mean, because we have staff that do this work now, right? I mean, how many signs do we have in the city as a whole today without?
I think it's 60,000.
Yeah.
So we have 60,000 signs. And how many staff maintain those 60,000 signs?
Implementation of it, right?
It-
I don't think-
At some point, there's a tipping point. If we keep adding, we can talk about other signs. We've added a lot of signs in the past couple of years, especially. At some point, there's a tipping point, and so when you hit that tipping point, it adds a crew. And so, at some point, you gotta add staff. So it's maybe not necessarily, John, correct me if I'm wrong, a correlation of 400 signs have one crew. It's also the correlation of we're increasing the number of signs we have every year anyway. So if we want to do this,
Right,
take a
right.
point.
So what you're saying is that there's a general need in engineering, and it's being put on this particular item in the budget. Because it's not that this particular project requires that overall operation. It's that there's a need in engineering to effectively maintain this.
Well, I would probably say I mean, John talked about the signs, you could make that argument, but if you add, I mean, how many beacons was that? It was like 250 flashing assemblies when you have conduits and wires, that probably is on this one.
Well, except the way that the budget is when we add all the beacons, that's not what triggers this. I mean, look at option A versus option B. Option B is the one that has all the beacons. Option A is the one with the higher budget amount on the operating.
By $30,000, right? I mean,
On the operating side, option A is 470,000, and option B is estimated to be $500,000.
$30,000 more.
Right, it is, but go to slide 6. It's 330,000 in personnel costs on option A. Option B is the one with all the beacons, and the personnel cost is 200,000. That's what, I didn't get the $130,000 difference on annual operating costs, because this is annual.
yeah, it's adding a crew to maintain signs.
And it's just to add the stationary signs. So, yeah, I just have a sense, I mean, the numbers don't add up to me, but appreciate
Let's,
it.
why don't you,
Can I just ask a question? I'm wondering, and maybe Chief McTaggart come up, have we seen like a major uptick in tickets and violations through school zones? Like what, I mean, we're kind of in a
What?
budget crunch of some sort that we've been struggling with our budget, and we're looking at changing something 5 more miles an hour. And I do understand the reason for the 5 miles an hour, but I mean, I'd like to know what,
can we,
historically, what's happening? What are we doing here?
can I make a, could we run through and then maybe ask that question, because I asked the overall through, once we hear through this. But we can go ahead, you can stay up here. You can stay up here, but I just think, let's finalize this kind of
Okay.
schedule, then we can talk about that,
Okay.
what you bring up. What
Yeah,
part?
I mean,
So let's hear the
we're-
presentation.
We've got a lot of, we need to have some priorities here. And
Okay, so we'll let you finish yours, then we'll go into why this is becoming and what the objective is.
So I think we're to this point where our recommendation is to review this more in a holistic framework of speed management citywide. So with the objectives of reviewing our speed protocol for speed limits, reviewing the school zones and the adjacent areas, because keep in mind, whatever we might do on a school zone, that school zone is only so, it's limited. And individuals that are walking for elementary schools, they'll walk likely maybe another mile or mile and a half beyond that, where the school zone speed limit would not be in place. We need to, the objectives would coordinate with Iowa DOT, develop enforcement strategies, engage the public and stakeholders, and identify funding sources. Our anticipated schedule is we're looking to issue a request for proposals for the speed management plan, which is funded. We plan to do that in the fall of this year. A BRC request would be also provided in the fall for CIP funding to begin funding any projects that might come of this study, as well as recommending future plan. And then we're looking at the plan development from the fall of this year to summer of next calendar year, and then a presentation of the plan to City Council in the fall of next year. So with that, you're gonna open up to questions.
Thanks, Chief.
Sorry.
What was the question again?
So, I mean, we're having a workshop, we're trying to solve a problem, tell me are you issuing a lot of tickets in school zone? I mean, I see people speeding everywhere. I mean, I see them speeding, not in the school zone, racing down South Union in residential areas where it's 30 miles an hour, that it doesn't matter if that speed limit's 15, they're not gonna go. Just tell me, what are we trying to accomplish here and why, I guess, through it?
So I don't have the exact stats for these, as far as increasing school zone tickets. It was already stated in there. We don't have the resources to hit all the school zones all the time. There were a few high-profile incidents outside of schools which involved fatalities. The goal is to slow down. Human nature is to kind of push the limits a little bit on speeding. And if we can reduce it, every 5 miles an hour is that much quicker you can stop and lessen the damage, physical damage, whatever it is. Your reactions are much quicker.
Sure.
So if people are pushing the limit of 25 mile an hour zone to 30, now if they're pushing the limit of a 20 mile an hour zone to 25, it still does decrease.
Okay.
Even having a visual beacon out there to people zone out when they drive, people are thinking of other things. This is just one more thing to help remind them, I'm going fast, I could get in trouble.
Yeah.
So that, anytime we could help reduce injuries, especially in school zones, we're not going to be there all the time to issue tickets, but if we can remind people to slow down, that's very important to us.
And our plan is to put the beacons at the majority of the rest of the school, no matter if we lower the speed limit or not, right?
Correct.
Okay. That helps.
Okay.
I have
Councilman Coleman?
the study, the plan that you're proposing, what do we anticipate the cost being?
We have budgeted, I think, around $230,000.
Was that already in the plan?
It's in the budget, it's in the approved CIP.
Councilman
John?
Ross?
Yes.
So, are there schools in the state of Iowa that have a slower speed limit of 15 or 20 miles an hour?
Yes.
So some communities have already moved to this, right?
Yes.
Is there an appetite for something similar to Illinois state law where fines double in school zones? I know that would be a state law change, but it's statewide in Illinois. Would our legislative team, Jen, be interested in promoting fines double in school zones?
I think that's something we
Take
can
your
add to.
direction, so if that's something the council
We can add
sees
it
as
when
a
we,
priority, we will
yeah.
certainly.
Right.
When we discuss our legislative priorities, we can discuss that if that's something.
So that's not unlike a work zone where fines double. This would be, so it's posted
Right,
in
well,
all of our
other
school
states have done it,
zones.
so it's, just bringing it forward, so that's something
Right.
we can talk about.
And the communities that you've, that are in Vision Zero, could you tell the council where other Vision Zero plans are regarding school zones or just residential speed limits?
I think it varies from community to community. Some communities have reduced their speeds in the residentials to something to 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour. Depends on what the prima facie speed, what the default speed is for residential. In some states, it's 30 miles an hour. Other states, it's 20. Other states, it's 25. Some have, the general flavor is to reduce speed limits. However, you have to have a component of enforcement or recognition provided to the driver to break up the hypnotic aspect that a driver sometimes gets into as they're driving, especially when they're going home. Most of the speeding tickets, at least from my discussions over the years of my career with law enforcement, that they issue in a neighborhood area are people that live in that neighborhood. So they drive in that street, they drive it every day, they drive it 2, 3, maybe 4 times a day. They know it like the back of their hand, and the speed limits, the signs that are out there become oblivious to them. So that's why the school feedback signs, or the speed feedback signs in general, have proven to be a good countermeasure, because it breaks up that flash of the sign just a little bit, helps to get people out of their hypnotic state, so to speak. That's also why other aspects are appropriate that we use in traffic calming.
So would it be fair to say that other Vision Zero communities have reduced their speed limit in school zones to either 15 or 20 miles an hour?
I would say it is fair to say, but I would say also that it's not in every community. Every community looks at what their needs are, what their crash experience, and look at their finite amount of resources, and they put it into the fashion or in the mechanism to address the problem that they see.
All right, well, could you get back to us, or at least get back to me, and give me the percentage of Vision Zero plans that are in effect that have either reduced the school speed zone to 15 or 20 miles an hour?
Certainly.
Okay. I think Linda had.
My comment is that I think our most precious asset that we have in this city are our kids. And we want our kids, we want families, we want people to live in our city, and that means keeping them safe when they're going to and from school. We have had fatal accidents in school areas because people speed. Joe's right. People are speeding all over this city. I think we have an obligation to do what we can do to at least try to slow them down in these school zones. And Beacon's work, I love the new
Yeah, the
ones that we've put up over in Ward 2, and it's great. But I think we have an obligation to keep everyone safe. And our kids are the most important asset that we have.
So,
Just
Councilman
real
Coleman?
quick, I voted for the CIP, I voted, I guess, for the consultant, but like compliments to you and Steve and everybody on the team. No matter how silly I think your ideas are, before I meet with you, you always convince me. I'm not sure we have the right, like, I think we have the right people to make these decisions. I mean, I can think of a whole lot of solutions that we could spend that $250,000 on instead of a consultant, that would make like immediate impact, more beacons. I think the thing that is most impactful, and our citizens love it, are the mobile ticketing. I don't know how much those are, but like,
if all of our citizens maybe love it when they get a ticket,
yeah, well,
but it does
the
have.
people that don't like it deserve not to like it
Right.
that day because it was their fault that they got, like, I just think we are in such a budget crunch. Linda worked all winter trying to find money to keep Birdland open over capital improvements, spending $250,000 on a study when I think we know what we need to do, a measured approach over time, and that's what we can afford. I just think the citizens would rather see us do something with that money here than go hire a consultant after the time you guys have already put into it.
Well,
Is
I
it-
have a clarification question on the study. This is a citywide speed management study. It's not like,
It's not a school.
it's not just a school zone. This is a broader piece that is applicable to implementation of the entire Vision Zero plan, right?
Correct.
So it is not, there are a couple of things that I think were included in here that really are broader engineering needs. And the speed study is a broader piece. If we're actually serious about implementing Vision Zero, a core piece of that is actually doing a speed management study to understand the issue more broadly. Because I don't think we can take any other steps in our Vision Zero plan without that comprehensive
Is
study.
that required that we have to hire a consultant, or we can't use the expertise in your department that knows our city? You know, I look at Jeff, I mean, you guys have qualified people, I think, to Councilmember Coleman's point, we have qualified people in our department, most definitely. I mean, that's Jeff's job, right? Most of it. I guess I don't.
Well, it depends what all is involved, I suppose.
Yeah, I
But quite
understand,
honestly, if you
but-
go to any meeting that we go to, it's all speed.
Yeah.
It's all about speed, so it's almost.
We know the issue. It's just.
But I don't know what the
200
technical terms you have to do.
$200,000 to tell
Well,
us.
Councilman Morgado, I really appreciate your comments. I think we do have an excellent staff. In my career, these are some of the finest individuals that I've worked with. However, we don't have enough of them. And you can only slice the pie so thin. And in this case, we're trying to add another pie, or at least a little bit more of a pie to it, so that we can have a really good, holistic look at the issue that I know all of you get comments on a daily, if not sometimes hourly basis.
Well,
Councilman Coleman, would it be helpful if maybe you could provide a little bit more detail to council
scope.
on the scope of exactly what that study will entail?
Certainly, certainly.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
so,
Councilman Abbas.
so it just seems like spending money to tell us what we already know is
Well, they might tell us.
challenging,
Fix it.
but so couldn't you put a group of guys and gals in a car and go up to the Twin Cities and look at what they've done in St. Paul and Minneapolis and do a road trip and come back with the same?
But it really doesn't,
Results?
it doesn't, you know, at some point, it's nice to go see another city, but they said we have to deal with what we have in Des Moines. So I don't know if just driving, I think we need the scope of what the study is and what it entails, and if we can scale it back in some way, but that would be up for you.
Mayor, one quick comment. We are data-driven. In my view, if another city's done something, that doesn't mean it's right. I wholly support this. My only question is on the operating side, the purchase of 2 vehicles. And did I hear you say that you're probably short, even without this, some equipment or people? And are we, because we're tipping with this added piece, that you'd like to purchase 2 vehicles and have more people time?
It probably is more like we're short. We're short today regardless of what we do with this recommendation. We've not added staff in the almost 6 years I've been with the city, and our infrastructure, our signs, our markings, our signals, we've increased every year. So to say that we are adequately handling that would be a misstatement.
Okay, so we'll get the scope of what it is for whoever would like to have it, and then we'll have you come back. And with that, we're moving on to engineering update. Sorry.
That'd be nice to have that. Is it, maybe just click on that down there? Oops.
Yeah. And right here's it.
Oh, sorry, over here.
You know, all that. Now you get calls.
Oh, and it's freezing up like that.
Well, because they get it up on the screen now, it helps, and we got to continue it further, you know. That new intersection is.
All right, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, my name's Steve Neighbor, Des Moines City Engineer. Happy to give kind of an overview on one, what the engineering department works on, and two, an update on our capital improvement program, what's ongoing and what's coming up. So I got a lot of slides to cover, so I apologize for that. We got a lot going on, and so I'm going to move through quite a few photos pretty quickly here. And as I mentioned, like I said, quick overview of the department, CIP highlights. You can see stormwater, bridges, facilities, sidewalks, streets, and traffic. So a lot of things to cover. Our focus in engineering is to construct public infrastructure and maintain traffic control systems for the safety, health, and quality of life of our residents, businesses, and guests. So that's our focus for engineering. We have about 102 team members divided up into 3 divisions: traffic and transportation, design and construction, and contracts and real estate. Our traffic folks cover not only things from traffic studies, traffic signal timing work, they manage the traffic calming program. They also are involved as technical support for our permit development center and doing site plan reviews. They also do the traffic reviews for over 250 street use events annually. They respond to 200 vision obstruction border area complaints, issuing street closure notices, and also do special parking permits. I just want to point out for the public, if you want to see something about a street closure, right on our city webpage, dsm.city, you can see find closures, and that'll give you a map of where streets are closed and what the detours are. We also have a lot of maintenance responsibilities, so 441 traffic signals and pedestrian signals, 120 informational warning signs. I mentioned the 60,000 signs before, 200 miles of fiber, 2 million linear feet of pavement markings, and 4,600 crosswalks. So again, that operational maintenance side of things. This division also has parking infrastructure as well. We have 8 parking garage structures, including 1 leased parking garage floor, and now 2 surface parking lots. So over 8,000 parking spaces off-street. We have 3,761 on-street meter stalls, that goes with 414 pay stations, as well as 58 skywalk bridges that connect 55 buildings and 12 parking garages. So this is the group that maintains that as well. Our design and construction division, I kind of view them almost like a consultant to the rest of the city. They design and construct and manage public improvement construction projects from streets, bridges, to sewers, buildings, parks, and other infrastructure. So they get to work a lot with all the other departments. They also do the construction field inspection, materials testing, and we also have 3 survey crews that are out there as well, doing stakeouts as well as topographic surveys and that sort of thing. And then we also provide, again, that consultant type technical service to the permit development center. We have engineering staff that are involved with the plan reviews. A lot of times or many times the developments impact the public right of way, and so they're involved in that as well, in things that happen in the right of way. Our contracts in real estate, we actually do all the bidding in-house. You can see there's a snapshot in the lower left of what the bid page looks like. Folks can go online and view the plans. So we actually handle the bid opening process ourselves. Real estate, we have real estate coordinators who work directly with property owners when we need easements or need acquisition for projects. We also have a lot of city property, and they manage that city property as well. So in terms of disposing it, we have a lot of people come and say they want to buy alleys or they want to buy city properties.
You handle all the vacant lots that we have too?
If someone wants to buy them, yes, absolutely. Yeah, yep. So we would be in the process of how do we selling them to those people. So. Right on our main city webpage, dsm.city, we have a link right there to projects map, so people want to see what active city public improvement projects are. You can click on that link, and it takes you to a map that looks like this. The map does include city projects, and you can see there if you click on, say, the highlight or link for along 2nd Avenue there, it pulls up a little pop-up window that tells you about the project. And even better, tells you who the direct line of contact is if you have questions on that contact. So this has been a big benefit not only to the public, I think, but it's also, quite frankly, a benefit to ourselves internally, right? We have so much work going on. Quite frankly, this map helps us not run into each other. So when we get, anywhere from stormwater to street paving to parks projects to sidewalk projects, this has been a nice coordination tool for internal. Who do you call? So.
And Steve, is there a place where the public can go to find out utility work? We've got all these Google people, and I know people have said, who is it, what's going on? Is there any place where we inform the public where the utilities are?
We do not have it in terms of where they're working. The only thing we would have is if they are closing a road. But yeah, there's been times where there's literally 30 fiber companies in our city. And so there's no way they move like a fast train. It'd be
Sometimes.
Yeah, and they've been overlapping each other, as we all know, and so that.
Do they ever work together if they're overlapping?
They work on locating, but there's never been a solution that I've ever heard of to to have them in the same trenches. They actually have, even though it's fiber, they have different equipment, different means of splicing. We've actually talked about this. Could you share things? And then the number one issue is the kind of the liability and responsibility. If something gets hit and you have 3 private entities, say, in the same conduit, who fixes and addresses it? No one's been ever been able to answer that. And again, it's different equipment too. They have different ways of connecting. So yeah. I do like this graphic for kind of residents. We think about our budget process. We hold a number of budget informational sessions that are educational, as well as talking about what's in our budget especially throughout the heart of the winter. And so when we think about how do we get stuff in the CIP, right? We have Plan DSM, our umbrella, our comprehensive plan. What do we want to be? Guide DSM, our strategy. And then you put those, and we look at implementation plans, such as the Transportation Master Plan, such as Vision Zero DSM, such as we have individual neighborhood plans, and the number of implementation plans we have. Those are how do we implement what we want to be in Plan DSM and what our strategy is in Guide DSM. And I put in the block box below, programmers. It's up to the programmers to put forth projects that get driven out of those implementation plans into the CIP, right? So our Public Works Department might say, well, hey, we want to provide sanitary sewer service to this area of Northeast Des Moines. Well, that project needs to be programmed in the CIP, and then they come to the engineering department to help with how do we do that? What's the size? How do we design it? We design it and build it. And so. And take it all the way through construction. So that's why that term programmers is a term we use. Kind of who is someone that should be focused on putting forth projects, right? Our Parks Department, they have a very talented, extensive planning staff that where do we want to do improvements in parks? We want to do these type of improvements in this parks. They program money in the CIP for those specific projects, and then they work with us to actually design and construct those. And so, and then that all gets funneled through in the capital improvement program process. And as you know, the city manager puts forth his budget recommendation in the early part of the year. And so, and then our city council ultimately approves that in the March, April timeframe. So again, all in all, the budget process actually really starts in that kind of late summer, early fall, when we start actually putting forth, here's some projects and developing those budget requests, if you will. So this is kind of an old example I always like to use. Again, we kind of have in our strategic goals, upgraded infrastructure. We have a parking garage evaluation condition study that says this is what you should spend. Here's where you should target the funding. So that's the implementation plan. And then that implementation plan is then put into the capital improvement program. You can see in the sheet in the right-hand side of the screen with a budget. So then now we have a capital improvement program, okay? And so here's kind of that process to deliver a project, right? So we've got to finalize the scope, assemble a team to do the work. Do we need consultants or can we do it in-house? It usually depends on expertise and magnitude of workload, right? I mean, Southeast Connector, for example, that's ongoing, a project of that magnitude, quite frankly, would take up most of Dave Camp's team upstairs to work on all the design stuff for that staff, so that was consulted out, for example. Then we look at survey, environmental work, preliminary engineering work, and so you can see there are different checkpoints along the way where we may have to bring things to city council, right? Real estate, we need to have authorization to go acquire property, so that would require council actions. Ordering construction is by state law a council action. Before we go out for bids, we need our mayor and council to authorize ordering construction. And then finally, of course, the hearing and construction, and then we also need council acceptance for final project acceptance. So again, I want to show you kind of the touch points where you might see the different process once we have a capital improvement program project. This is just the bidding type phase. So typically real estate can take 6 months if there's any, going through that process. And then bidding alone is typically a 2-month process. So this is actually the 2025 bid schedule with our dates. I actually send this out to all our project managers and staff so they have, here's the targets they need to hit. So. And I'm not expecting you to read this, but this was an example of just kind of an internal project schedule of the Gray Station stormwater basin. I like it just because it kind of shows, in general, projects take about 3 years to complete. I know that drives people bananas. They wish they can go faster. Some can go faster, right? A simple resurfacing can go faster. But when we have things like environmental reviews, when we have urban design review boards, access advisory board meetings, parks and recreation board meetings, there can be a lot of checkpoints and things to work through it depending on the scope and nature of the project, depending on the utility work that's needed. A lot of times we get into a street project and we work closely with the Moines Waterworks and they say, well, we want to replace a water main. Well, we've got to coordinate that into our schedule and work that into how that gets done and, and with the work that we're doing.
I have a question, and this particular example kind of leads to this. Urban Design Review Board is a city-initiated, and it's designed to make sure when we're using tax increment financing that we're getting quality design, quality building. Why would that be necessary on a stormwater management basin?
If I remember correctly, I think this one actually was funded with TIF. It was in the Gray Station development, so that was why they were.
What I'm asking, though, is not, like, yes, it was funded in TIF, so because it was funded with TIF, it triggered Urban Design Review Board, but this is just kind of a standard infrastructure piece. It's not something that would be.
So Councilman Mandel, I have a recent example. So in the design for I think the stormwater in the Market District, there was a fence required, and it was kind of, the design was a very kind of standard utilitarian fence. And when it went to Urban Design Review Board, what the recommendation came back with was, well, it's such a prominent location, should it be a more aesthetic looking fence, a black fence, not with, there was a suggestion out of there, which then went to the city manager, and I think that conclusion was, hey, let's do this right the first time and put a little bit more money into the budget to upgrade the fence. Is that the outcome, I think?
Yeah, and also remember there's even more components to that whole with the park and the way that the trail system. And so this one, the Gray Station Basin, actually the ultimate master plan that was presented with some overlooks and networks that go, like walking path networks that go around it. So I think there is At least that was what was presented, a few years ago, but. so.
Do we, I mean, I see the slide, once the project is funded, it takes 3 years to plan, design, bid, permit, coordinate utility work before starting construction. You don't think the cost will increase over the 3 years that we're taking to build this thing?
Typically construction costs are about 3.5% a year.
You don't think 3 years is excessive to plan, to build? I mean, you don't, to bid it out? You can honestly stand up there and say that that's an adequate 36 months to get a project done? Because I'm probably one of them up here that says that's entirely too long and time is money when you're trying to do projects. And to my point, the project's going to increase in 3 years.
Yeah, 3.5%.
How do what do we need to do as far as policy to streamline it? Because
So I'm using this
this
as,
isn't okay.
I'm using it as kind of a general rule of thumb. Certainly if you say, hey, we need to just mill and overlay a couple blocks of residential streets, that doesn't take 3 years, right? We can do that in the next available, say next year's project. But if we're going to fully reconstruct a road, and then you get, we have all these fiber companies, and we have Des Moines Waterworks, for example, McKinley Avenue.
Oh, I've watched it.
Des Moines Waterworks is out there right now, replacing the water main in advance of us coming and reconstructing the road. Well, that takes them time to design their water main to make sure they don't put it where our storm sewer, is, as well as Mid-American Energy moving poles out there. So it's a whole chain reaction of coordination. And then if there's real estate, then that, you saw the 6-month window for that. So it's not necessarily, it's not every project takes 3 years, but in general, when we're doing reconstructions or those projects that impact a lot of other entities, I haven't seen it done faster in my 25 years of doing this. And I've worked for the wealthiest communities in the country. I've worked for the poorest communities in the country before I came here. And when I say endless money, we've tried to do things faster. We've actually put, full disclosure, contractor incentives to try and get them done quicker. But and that's helped a lot. But I have not seen. That's generally what I've seen in my experience.
I mean, we've struggled with the McKinley project. We gave them entirely too much time to complete that project. Because as well as I did, once they started working on it, it didn't take them the entire time to do it. Once they got a crew and got working on it, same thing with the park projects. You're trying to do Sayers Park, it looks like a bomb blew up in there. I mean, it's a joke. They've worked on Watrous for, I don't know, a month because they broke a sewer line of some sort. But, it's just like, we're giving them a ton of time to complete the project. Like you gave McKinley like an extra year until they can finish until June. The road was open before that.
Sure, yeah, we give them time to do the restoration in the spring and
But,
stuff.
I mean,
When we do the other utilities, it does get, that McKinley job, as you know well as anybody, that they were out there with that water main for
yeah, but
darn
once
near
the
whole.
contractor started working and knew they didn't have until November to complete it, or the time started getting closer to November and they knew, okay, well, now I got to pull everybody off my other jobs that I went and bid and finish this one because I am under time. To my point is why are we giving them so much time? Hey, if you bid the job, let's go complete it.
Joe, I'll give you an example. When these projects are bid, they usually include some extra time due to weather because that's so unpredictable.
Sure.
And we live in the most harsh environment because we have seasons.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So,
I think the other, to the point of like all the design reviews and things like that, are we complicating things do we need as many reviews?
Mayor, I appreciate you saying that. I was going to,
For our commissions?
if you go back a slide, like, the number of people that have to kind of become experts in a stormwater management basin because they staff the Access Advisory Council, the Parks Board, like, there's a lot there, and I don't see Joe blaming you as much as
No,
saying, what can we do
What
as
is our
council to
systems?
change some
Right.
policies about how we could speed some of this up to get to execution.
Because if you have urban design review, you got to wait for a month, because say whatever, then you got a park and rec, you got to wait for a month, and then you got some, so I'm not saying we don't have people review, but what is the way we can internally streamline, if we can?
And a lot of that's happening concurrently. You're
Okay.
not sitting
Yeah.
around waiting
Yeah.
for a board
Sure.
meeting. You're doing
Yeah.
other work too.
Well, it's-
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
It's every month. I mean, we're waiting every month on there, just like the mayor had said, to get on the agenda, to get moving. So what can we pull out of this big list of advisory boards and rely on our engineering or rely on someone else, the experts, because I don't know any of my folks that I put on the Park and Rec board is an expert at stormwater management basin. I can just tell you that they're both attorneys,
But
but
there might
I
be
don't
something
think
within
they're.
that.
Well, and they're not looking at the stormwater functions of it, they're more looking at the
Part of that.
park amenities and the trails.
But
Yeah.
is there some way to if there is a way to consolidate, I think we're open to it.
Yeah,
So
appreciate
more-
that.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think to Matt's point, I mean, there were two of those meetings that happened between the 60% design and the 95% design. We just want to make sure that the reviews that we are adding on, and it's good that the park board is looking at park amenities, but let's make sure that that's not adding time.
Right,
Yeah.
and that
Is
it's
the-
an
is the
absolute
key. Sure.
necessity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, checkpoints, this is, I like this flow chart because it shows, I'm proud of the public engagement we do in our city. We do number of touch points with our public. We do public meetings pretty early in the process. You can see right there, the public meeting comes before final concepts. I learned earlier in my career in 2003, I came with engineering drawings to a public meeting in Cary, Illinois, and that didn't go well because people saw the engineering drawings and said, well, what's the point of the public meeting if you already have this all detailed design? And so there's a big benefit to doing these public meetings early in the design concepts to let the public provide input. And so you can see as well, that's kind of, this is our public engagement process here. All right, so we talked last year about a huge accomplishment by our city. That's mayor, council, and Public Works, Engineering, all the teams involved in getting that main spine of closest creek watershed in place. This is another one, Hamilton Drain East System. It used to be an old drainage district, and so the name stuck, Hamilton Drain, but it's actually in Highland Park. This is one where there's an old wood box that was installed in the 1930s. And unfortunately, as we've experienced, there was a number of houses built right on top of the box. And so we've made and FEMA has said, well, they're modeling this in the flooding that's happened here. This is actually a special flood hazard area as mapped by FEMA. And so we've been working to address that. Actually, on the left, you can see there's the wood box, the inside photo there. This is the plan we worked on and put together. It's a compilation of not only providing larger sewer pipes to essentially replace the wood box, but also provide stormwater detention, right? When we talk about stormwater detention, if I think of a sewer pipe as a straw, and I take a pitcher of water and pour it into that straw, the straw won't be able to handle it. It just floods everywhere, right? It would flood all over this table. But if I attach the straw to a big bowl and then pour a pitcher of water into the bowl, well, then the bowl will fill up and allow the straw to release that flow at a more controlled rate. That's what we're doing here. You can see all the little boxes are different shapes. Those are stormwater detention basins. We've put all those in, and right now we're doing the pink. The very bottom right, we've put in the blue, we've put in the orange, we've put in the green, and we're working on the pink, so we're on the kind of that last phase. So we're literally targeting the end of this year to be done with this plan. Which is very exciting. We've done a mix of underground detention. This is underneath at Shawnee and Amherst, so the bowl is underground, if you will. And then we've done a mix of above ground detention, and we've worked with our parks team, Public Works team, to utilize that space. And so the stormwater basin that was created at East 9th and East Douglas is currently being worked on to make it a park. You can see here, and there's a picture of it last week. You can see the stormwater basin has just been put in place, and it's being graded for and fine graded for those park improvements. So that's the Catherine Creek Park. So.
And if I can just add here, I just have to give kudos to you and your team, because this is a huge project, and it has gone wonderfully. And it is such an improvement. To me, it's the best thing that has probably happened in Ward 2 for the residents that live there. It's just amazing what you've done.
Yeah, very proud of this. I'm very,
Winning some awards or something because.
With the addition of this park too, and this will be great.
let's put it this way, I sleep a lot better at night with this project and the closest creek project in
Right.
Beaverdale, the spines in, so.
Remember, I have pictures of the broken box culvert that a resident had grass clippings and potato chip bags that had gone down the storm drain and ended up in their basements.
Yeah.
It is amazing that we had wooden storm sewers.
I would also like to give Steve kudos for using curving lines. Nothing drives me crazy than straight lines everywhere. Imagine going to Central Park and the ponds being pure rectangles. How boring that would be.
Never thought that.
Thank you. Another project that's made great progress, if you look here, actually, this is our levee alterations. You look at A, B, and C, which are basically all around the confluence of the river. We're talking about a 9,000 square mile drainage area that all comes right to our confluence. And so A, B, and C are A is complete, B is also complete, and C is about 80% complete, anticipated to be done, substantially done at the end of this year. And so that is doing improvements from not only raising levees and flood walls to provide more protection, but it's also making them hardier, whether that's stabilizing them on the front end from scouring, but also putting in those seepage mitigation trenches to relieve pressure out from under the levees to keep them from overtopping. So very excited that our downtown, our neighborhoods, the McKinley Columbus neighborhood, Park neighborhood, this is great to have these improvements making great progress here. And here's some photos. Phase B, we talked about hardening, right? The Des Moines and Raccoon Rivers are very prone to scouring, which is basically the river moving sediment. And so protecting the front end of those levees is a huge benefit here. Here's the levee that's been raised. You can see just downstream of the Scott Avenue Bridge, you can see we have a brand new pump station right there, as well as a levee that's much higher and much more stable. So I mentioned that we got about a 9,000 square foot of watershed. I just like this map because it shows, maybe for the public's interest, water that falls in Minnesota ends up here. And so this is a big impact. This is a massive drainage area that comes right to Des Moines here, over 9,000 square miles.
What is our obligation as a city to all of this levee work? I mean, what is the proportion federal versus us?
Well, unfortunately, there's no federal money. We did try to apply for that, and that we did not get any federal money. And I guess the short answer to that is we had a levee system. So in hindsight, if we didn't have any levee system, then I think we would have gotten federal funds. But because there was a levee system,
Because we're upgrading that
yeah,
levee
we're
system to
upgrading
protect
it.
our city.
Yeah, but we did receive state flood mitigation money. About 111 million total went to the city and the wastewater reclamation authority. So I think about 60 of that went to the city, and then the balance is our stormwater funds that are.
So we are funding this.
Correct.
I just want,
Steve, going back a couple of slides, SQRA and a question mark, what does that mean?
Yep, and so actually I got the slide right up here. Yep, so what that is, believe it or not, our federal government has new rules, which has been this has actually been a good one. It's called a semi-quantitative risk assessment. So what this is it's a new rule that allows basically accreditation of levees by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So for example, all the levee systems that are done, A, B, and C, we followed FEMA, and then we did put a factor of safety on it. We built above what the FEMA criteria was to provide some buffer. We just checked the boxes of all FEMA, right? The stability of the levee, the height of the levee. This new model is solely risk-based. So in other words, we use this model the council approved in 2023 to have the Corps of Engineers and a number of levee experts look at the levees, specifically really focusing on the Southeast Des Moines levee. Where are the risks? If the risks are such that overtopping would occur well before, say, the stability of the levee is at risk, then we should focus our money on the overtopping. If the risks are so small that the levee would scour, then let's focus where the risk is. And so that, it's essentially, it's looking at the risk of the levee system and where should we spend our money to make it so it's, we're confident the levee will perform. So, so that we've been working through this, reviewing the conditions with the Corps, and the levee system. So I mentioned before, we got A, B, and C done, and now we're looking to start moving downstream. We would need to do improvements to make raises along D, which is essentially from southeast 14th downstream toward the wastewater treatment plant. Do some raises there. And then we need to improve the closure structure on 4 Mile Creek where the railroad tracks are to raise that as well. That'd be off actually 4 Mile Creek. So that's kind of where our risks are from this study. And so that's what we'd be looking at doing next. So that's what we've been working on with the Corps for the upcoming levee systems. And this is a way to accredit the levee. So essentially, instead of having to just check every single box and do everything, raise the levee, provide seepage mitigation, stabilize it on the front. If the things has such a small risk, we don't spend the money on it, essentially. It's focusing on where the risk is, if that makes sense.
And you decide, your team decides that, right?
Well,
Your team
Army
or
Corps
no?
process.
U.S. Army Corps of Engineers involved. We're with them on their cadre. They call them risk cadres. They bring in experts from all over the country and work on this. But ultimately, the Corps of Engineers has to do the accreditation for this one.
Right, okay.
Does that have an acronym too?
The Corps has a lot of acronyms. Yep. Bridges. Very proud of this because obviously we have bridges in our flag. And so we've been making a lot of progress. We've rehabilitated 21 bridges over the past 10 years. In 2013, we had 14 bridges considered structurally deficient. I want to say that doesn't mean it's unsafe. It means that elements are in poor condition. Now we're down to 2. And so those are in our capital improvement program. And you can see right out our window here, we're ready to pave one that did have some issues with scour prone and, excuse me, the Walnut Street Bridge. And so, making lots of progress on our bridges is something I'm very proud of. And here's kind of a summary list here. Just to kind of give everyone an idea, I'm not going to read through it all due to the essence of time, but it's a good screenshot for everyone to kind of see all the bridge work that's been done.
Yeah, how many millions is that?
Oh, geez, I wish I had that. I don't have that.
That's a good number to put up there since 2019, what we've spent
Yeah.
on just bridges.
Yeah. So, and here's kind of what's upcoming. You can see in the picture right there, Southwest 9th over Raccoon River. That's a 1,400 feet long bridge. We have 52 bridges. That's a lot for a city. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
We're not taking that down, we're just
It'd be a rehabilitation, yep. So, yep. No, it'd not be full replace. But you see the timelines we're anticipating doing this work. So this is kind of the upcoming bridges you can see there. So, right.
Yeah, well, one, so is the bridge completely closed on Southwest 9th then at that point for?
I think this one we'd be able to do stage it to keep at least one lane open.
I know, I've heard lots of folks say that we become an island when we start
Yeah.
doing that on the south side, and so.
Yeah, no, this one we'd be looking to stage it and try and keep it one lane open. It's still be painful, but
Okay.
yeah. Lots of facility work being done. Here's a recent picture of fire station number 4 that's making great progress. This is a $13.2 million, 21,000 square feet station there at Clark and 19th. You can see the 4 apparatus bays. We've got the slab on grade pours in progress there. There we got the indoor framing for the bunks and the lockers. So very exciting. This thing is moving along.
What's the next station that we're looking at? And is that one in design yet?
It's not in design, but I'd have to defer to the chief on that. I believe it's 3, but I could be wrong. I would have to defer to our chief on that one.
So are we just waiting to complete one and then we start the other one? So we take a year off before
would say was.
I thought we were
budget.
consistently trying to replace these.
I'd have to get back on that.
There
That's
is a
good.
schedule and sequence, I don't know it off
Yeah.
my memory, Joe, but.
Yeah.
Can you
the
guys
next one- the
send
next
that
one-
to us?
Yep.
Yep, so we have it,
Yep.
because we are way behind on these. Means I still have a temporary station, and Station 10, that was supposed to be 15 years ago replaced.
So there's the
And
trend.
none of them are in the right place, is what I've been told, on the south side, so.
Well, it'd be the time to review it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll get that scheduled.
Wondering where we're at.
Leichhardt Community Recreation Center, you can see the walls, precast walls going up. There's pictures that were taken, I took in May here, we took. Jump ahead.
It's okay, we can keep going.
This is the city council chambers and the TM Franklin County City Administration Building. So you can see a lot of work, progress being done there. Substantial completion targeting the end of '25, so, which would put, my group moving probably, spring of '26. Uh-oh. There we go. And there's just that's actually the 5th floor, the office buildings. You see the glass and office spaces are all up, carpeting's in. So lots of progress being made there.
When is this chambers moving? Do we know that?
Roughly the same timeline.
Same time, I think. they're-
Spring?
Spring.
Sidewalks, as you know, we have a focus on filling gaps in our sidewalk system, focusing first on areas of schools. Here's kind of that map. I'll go ahead and I'm going to send this out to you as an email of kind of the upcoming years. The pink has been completed, and then all the other colors are what's kind of outlined in the future phases.
Can you go back one, just real
Yep.
quick?
Just to show your south side.
Just to,
Yep.
priority 1 sidewalk gaps. Okay. Looks like it's all in Ward 4, the majority of it.
Yeah, there's
Healthy amount of that's in
Yeah, healthy.
I think back when they first built all those homes out there, they didn't put sidewalks in.
Okay.
Yep, and as you can see in the map there, yep, there's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah, we did some work.
So, since 2019, when you all initiated this major initiative, we've put in over 30 miles of sidewalks. So 161,000 square feet. Oops, that's all right. I think I got this slide. I included this slide, again, actually gave at the Iowa Transportation Commission. This was a couple of graphics. Let me put them up here on the scoreboard here. This is us as a nation, right? So you can see we are heading in the wrong direction in terms of vehicular crashes, okay? And so we were trending down, and then around 2014, since 2014, we've had a 30% increase in motor vehicle crash fatalities. And so you can see, I know there's a lot on here, but in the upper right, that's showing us compared to the next 28 high-income countries. So our fatality rate is over 2 times higher than those other countries. So we're heading in the wrong direction, and we look at where the issues are. You can see pedestrians, bicyclists, motorcycles, and then obviously it says large truck occupants. Those are kind of those obscure high rates, if you will. The vulnerable users are the ones that we're experiencing fatalities on. And so we're heading in the wrong direction as a country. And one statistic that I saw was in an article on the New York Times. It was actually published last year, but it said in the U.S., 41,000 people were killed in traffic crashes last year. That'd be equivalent to 4 Boeing 737 planes crashing every week. So you can imagine what the media would be if that was the case, right? And so these are astounding numbers, and we're heading the wrong direction here. And so I want to kind of paint the picture just as a country, we're heading in the wrong direction. And so as a city of Des Moines, I'm proud that we've adopted Vision Zero DSM, a plan to attack fatalities and severe injuries. And so when we looked at Vision Zero DSM, 28,000 crashes recorded in Des Moines, recording in 76 fatalities and 453 serious injuries. And so, this is the graph that shows the blue dashed line as our goal and target. and you can see the red is what we're tracking here. So that's the plan of how do we attack these.
And I assume most of these other countries, do they have hands-free? Can't talk on the phone in your car?
You know, I'm not sure of that, but certainly that does not. You kind of look at the timelines and, yeah.
Be interested to see what our new law starting tomorrow.
I hope it works.
That'll be helpful.
As someone who has sat down with a mother who lost their child due to a cell phone, it was in a residential area, a lady driving an SUV picked up the phone to call her husband what's for dinner, and unfortunately swerved over, hit the bicyclist. I will never forget the pain in that woman's eyes. So I 1,000% love. I wish we didn't use cell phones at all in a car, just to be frank. But and since I've met her in the past 8 years, I don't use a cell phone. So if you call, and when I drive in any manner,
You will not be answering.
because I will never forget the pain in that woman's eyes. So
That's for sure.
so very, very happy to see some laws moving forward with that. So the city has been attacking safety. This is Hubble Avenue. This is the graphic of before Hubble Avenue in 2017. You can see it was kind of some obscure intersections. You actually could, before we got here, you could fill up your gas tank and just pull straight out into Hubble Avenue, making a left-hand turn. It was not a very even comfortable, full disclosure, I live over here. It was not even a comfortable area to drive through. And so we did a number of realignments here. Let me highlight them real quick here. So you can see the green, we realigned the intersections, and we did access control, which they're big changes and it is painful. We closed a number of driveways and reconfigured them. We also added some more dedicated pedestrian crossings. And so since the completion of this project, looking at the data, 50% reduction in crashes, 60% reduction in injuries, and even best, 75% reduction in fatalities. So this whole environment feels better. I guess someone who lives over there too. And then we even put a stormwater basin down in the lower left there, highlighted in blue. Instead of the stormwater just dumping into 4 Mile Creek, it goes into that basin to treat it and slow it down. Just kind of the numbers right there. A huge pet peeve of mine when I came to Des Moines in 2015, we've made this work focused on eliminating negative offset turn lanes, right? So this was East 30th and East University Avenue. You see a couple things. This is right by the State Fairgrounds. Not a great place for pedestrians. You can see we got the slip lane in the lower right there. You can hardly even see space for pedestrians at the intersection corners. And then also it was difficult for the motorists to see. So you can see the purple pickup truck has trouble seeing around the red box. I put a red box over that car there when there's oncoming traffic. So what we did is just flipped it, right? So create that positive offset, so now it's better visibility. And also we took out the slip lanes, tightened up the intersection. You can actually see the pedestrian facilities there. And so it's tightened up the intersection. And just by doing that, right, we reduced crashes by 63%. So that project was completed in 2022. Ingersoll Avenue has had some great success numbers there. 2009, 24 miles an hour. Now we're down to 20 miles an hour measured speeds. You can see this is the phasing. We're done all the way through 31st Street. And so 31st through 35th is the next phase. Here's kind of that overarching picture. And this is the data that's very excited to see here. We talk about Vision Zero, right? We went from, in 2006, 2009, there were 51 crashes a year. Census Streetscape in 2024 we had 12. So going from 24 miles an hour to 20, 51 crashes to 12 with no severe injuries and fatalities. I mean, that to me is Vision Zero, right? That's what we wanted. That's where we want to be. So when we slow the traffic down, it's amazing it's just an awesome accomplishment. I always like this photo. Here was before, okay, 2020 aerial photo. This is the same location. So you tell me you can see the photo, what's a place you want? We want a place we can travel through quickly, or do we want a place that we can be, right? And so this is the same location.
Steve, when's that last phase supposed to be, 31st to 35th? Is that scheduled for next calendar year?
It'll start next year, yep. But, yeah, and then there would be one more phase from 35th to 42nd, I think it's 2029. So, yeah, we have, that would be there's 2 more phases.
With the chunk of that last phase already being done.
We have the curb lines in and, yep. Southeast Connector, very happy for this one. I think this is going to be a huge benefit to not only Des Moines, but quite frankly, all of East Polk County. I think this also is a benefit for East University Avenue, to try and take some of that truck traffic off. So this is underway. I took this picture from a distance. It was kind of a gloomy day, but you can see they've already started grading, so they're moving out there. So it's a 3-year project, and it's underway. Very excited about this project. This is Beaver and 41st. Here was the before. It's just a very obscure intersection. If you're someone that's, it's hard to tell if you were on 41st Street, it's hard to tell if the traffic was going to stay on Beaver or keep going straight on 41st. Well, here's what it is today. So again, much more cleaner intersection. I'll be honest, I've received comments about how happy they are with this. It's,
Makes a difference.
makes a big difference, yeah. And we have some commercial nodes that are very popular in this area. So lots of pedestrians as well. McKinley Avenue, Councilman Gatto mentioned that before, a major infrastructure project of streets that needed full reconstruction. And so here's kind of the overview map. Southwest 9th to South Union was completed. And now you can see the water main contractor. This is, actually I want to show you here's a before and after image. Here's before in 2021, and then here's after, and so definitely happy to have this infrastructure improvements in place.
It's not a farm road anymore, at least on that stretch.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And then the waterman contractor is actually out there now on McKinley from Southwest 9th to Southwest 14th. You'll see the street reconstruction to follow in 2026 through 2027. Fleur Drive, here's a before image in 2019. Okay, here's after, right? So we saw no pedestrian facilities before. We had this on the right, it's kind of hard to see, you kind of barely see it, but it was like an acceleration lane. So we got rid of the acceleration lane and replaced it with a sidewalk. So much better as well. We do have one more stretch we're working on this summer, which is Fleur Drive between Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway up at the north end to George Flagg. That's a resurfacing. Here's an aerial photo of 2nd Avenue. You can see the realigned Clark Street right there. So it has already been completed. So they're working down the east side of the road, and then they're about 60% complete. They'll move to the west side, and hopefully to be done. The completion date is fall of 2026. They're hoping to be done sooner than that. I think they are a little ahead of that, but that's what their schedule is. Their schedule is targeting to be done sooner than the fall of 26. Oops, skipping one real quick here. East Locust, our contractor, you may have seen them out there painting the light poles, so they're replacing 120 light fixtures with LED lights. That are also much easier to maintain. There's 2 on each pole, and they're also painting the light poles, up and down the streets right now as we speak. And then in 2026, we will be replacing the plaques. A lot of them are broken or not even legible, and then also doing improvements to the sidewalks as well as resurfacing the road. So, Market District. Here's East 4th Street that's under construction. Again, we've actually have completed or underway about $30 million of street and stormwater improvements in the Market District alone. And so since the 2019 master plan's been completed. On the right is the force main that's going down East 8th. You can see that today. And on the left is East 4th Street working up to East Court Avenue. What's next is the railroad crossing improvements that would be happening to upgrade the railroad crossings. As you know, they're kind of like rural type industrial crossings now. We would like to upgrade those and have them so there's sidewalks crossing them as well. And then just kind of some upcoming projects. This is US 69 Amare Street. Again, using some of the similar concepts that we did in Hubble Avenue with access control and realigning the intersections. This is targeting 2027 construction, working with the DOT on this. Southwest 9th, we just had a public meeting on this, and so you can see here, here's kind of the data on it. Unfortunately, Southwest 9th, I think we have over 500 crashes recorded in 4 years. That's like a crash every 3 days, unfortunately. And you can see the big issue there is speeding. This data shows that even the reasonable driver is speeding. If you want to use that down Southwest 9th, then I know that's what our council members hear a lot about, and understand right. Then they're right. So how do we do that? Right. So looking at a roundabout at Bancroft, which is kind of a nice. You come across the bridge, there's nothing slowing you down. So this is the intent here, is to slow people down. We have 2 roundabouts that we just put in working with Polk County on Broadway. We have another one that's under construction right now at Southeast 36 and Army Post. So very excited to move forward. This is the first phase of this. Along with doing other improvements, we talked about positive offsets in intersections, reflective backplates, leading pedestrian intervals, and other improvements as we go up and down the corridor. So here's kind of the numbers. I threw a lot at you. There's been a lot. We're nearly $1 billion in work, over 547 contracts in the past 10 years, awarded over 585, over 266 in the past 5. So there's kind of the graph. So kudos to you all in doing what you said you would do, which is attack infrastructure, right? Stormwater, streets, all of it. And so these are the numbers, and they are what they are. So definitely our council and mayor and council has led us in attacking or improving our infrastructure. I think.
And then another.
I'm sure I got everything here. I'll get to one. Another project I think that's just on the horizon there is Douglas Avenue corridor. You can see the pilot project there. That was before and after. And we'd be looking at moving forward with design on this to make this more 3-lane with sidewalk facilities on each side, in the future here. Since we're getting close to the time, I want to make sure I hit it. Yep. So I threw a lot at you all.
Yeah, no, on behalf of myself, and I'm sure all the council, thank you for all the work you've been doing, and thank you to the citizens who provided with the sales taxes for been able to, even though we still need more, it's been able to accelerate what we've been doing and saying that we were going to get roads fixed, the levee work, the amount on the levees alone, and it's just incredible that a lot of other cities don't have to do, since they don't have 2 rivers going through their city. It's a great amenity, but it's also a costly amenity.
Yeah.
So thank you for all the work, you and your team, so we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Steve, we've talked around the edge on this, but if a speed bump and signs are about $8,000, could we, to have it done outside, could we do a pilot project where Public Works would do a few speed bumps and see what the cost to do that internally?
They actually did that. Public Works did Porter Avenue. And so the costs they submitted to me were almost identical. They were 8,000 and change. So,
Well, of course it was.
Yeah, but the Public Works did actually submit.
I don't understand. I mean, they have all the equipment to do it. They have the staff. They do small pavings. They don't do big pavings anymore. So, I mean, I guess I don't know where.
I think we can have them look at it, but if, cost or, a lot of it's employee costs, so.
We already paid the employees.
That's to my point, and I'm sure Carl's point.
But if
They're
you
already
put-
on staff.
But if they're already busy, if they have to, we can get back on that to find out.
Seemingly, internally, at least, some Public Works people think that they have the skill and they have the time.
Then
As
then we can
reported
have
to
that
us,
discussion, we
yeah.
can have that discussion with Public Works.
Yeah, I would defer to Jonathan on if taking the time. They do have the skill and they have the equipment. It's what other jobs are they prioritizing over that?
Right.
And what would you sacrifice in their time if they spend a day working on this? Mm-hmm.
You have all the specs, like how high it's supposed to be
Okay.
and.
Yep. We actually, quite frankly, we met with the city of Detroit and took their detail and how we used their speed bump detail and
That's
modeled after.
done internally.
Nope, they actually contracted all of it out. That's all,
I guess I read a different
yep.
report, so.
Yeah, we met with their city engineer, the construction manager who manages it all, and but they do thousands of these a
It
year.
would just be nice, when they're approved, then now we got to go back to our constituent and say, hey, it's going to be 3 years before we can get it in.
Well, I think that's something we'll have to
That's-
prioritize and we'll have.
We-
to
It's a
find out.
challenge.
We have.
We might not be here in 3 years.
We have shifted, though. We were using a number of other measures that were, for example, on Cleveland Avenue, like a full raised intersection, that was much more costly. So now we are literally doing
Yeah.
speed bumps.
The full raised intersection, like you put on Southeast 22nd, I'm not a fan of that. That
Yeah, so we've
created more havoc than anything. I mean, I'm sure now it maybe it's slowed, but when you originally put it in without any signage, I mean, I had more complaints on that than any speed bump you've ever put in.
I heard people happy.
yeah, and so since
I've heard people happy about that one.
Councilman, since you brought it up, we have switched to
Appreciate that.
to just speed bumps. It's just there's a queue of. We have such a queue of projects. I mean, they're coming in.
Oh, I
mean,
know.
you sent one. You had one last week.
I probably send you
Yeah.
a couple of months.
Like I said, we could put speed bumps on
Yep.
every road because people are all speeding, so the
Yeah.
thing is to slow down,
Yeah.
make it easier. So thank you for the presentation. It's, any other comments or questions?
Closed session?
We have a
tonight?
closed session at 3:45. We'll return for the general, we will have the closed session, and then the regular meeting will be at 5 o'clock. So thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you.